The air refueling wing in Bangor, Maine, which I did not get an opportunity to bring you to visit, so I'm hoping the general will make up for that, has long been a workhorse unit for the Air Force. It typically supports more than 1,000 transient aircraft annually. In addition, it continues to deploy personnel at very high rates worldwide. The wing's enormous workload is demonstrated by the fact that it has processed twice as many gallons of fuel as the average Air National Guard refueling wing. And its strategic location obviously makes it absolutely critical. What are we doing to make sure that a workhorse unit like this refueling wing has the resources it needs at a time when it's still deploying individuals at a great rate? General.
Ma'am, I'll tell you that having been pulled out of a lot of really bad places by some courageous tanker crews, many of which I'm sure are at Bangor, I wouldn't be sitting here had it not been for the courage of those crews. So as we recapitalize the tanker force, I go back to, in a world of pure competition, those 3 phone calls that I will get as chief, the secretary will get, that says the combatant commander, let's say in EUCOM, needs tankers. The STRATCOM commander to be able to support the nuclear mission needs tankers. The NORTHCOM commander to defend the homeland needs tankers. These are simultaneous, no-fail missions. Therein lies why you see the investment in the KC-46 and the sustainment of the tankers that we have so we can get to the 479 required that we will do in 19 to ensure that we have the tanker force required to do the nation's business. And I would just say, I believe that we are a global force, a global power because of global reach, and it's our tankers that give us that.
Senator, if I could just add one brief thing. The study that we did that was directed by the Congress, that came really from our hearings last year when you all asked us, we always come up and present the Air Force we can afford given the budget that we have. And you asked us, well, what is the Air Force we need to execute the National Defense Strategy? And that led to a piece of work that you all directed that is ready to come up in classified form. But we released an unclassified summary, and it's no big surprise to anyone that the Air Force we need is larger than the Air Force we have. One of the biggest areas of unmet need, particularly by the time we get to the 2025-2030 timeframe, is in tankers.
Thank you. Secretary Wilson, in what seems like a major change of direction, the budget requests new F-15 fighter jets, which haven't been purchased by the Department of Defense since 2001. If you were not constrained by an inadequate budget, would your preference be for more F-35s?
If the budget is unconstrained, there are a lot of things that I can think of that would be
But in terms of capability that the F-35 gives you.
Talk a little bit about this. Or Chief, do you want to lead, or do you want?
I would just say, ma'am, that very often we throw the terms 4th generation and 5th generation around. And if I could just take a couple minutes and explain the importance of what 5th generation means and the F-35's role in that. Because we will sometimes present charts that shows this red dome over a country as though they can put a block of wood over themselves to protect themselves. That's actually not accurate. The best a country can do today is a block of Swiss cheese. There are holes there, and it's our job in the Air Force to know where they are, exploit them, and get in. And when we get in, it's with a penetrating joint team. We're there in space. We're there with high-altitude ISR. We're there with B-21. We're there with F-22. We're there with F-35. We're there with our joint teammates, with submarines. We're there with special operations. If I could send a message to any of our adversaries, whoever sees an F-35, it would be, we're here. Not I'm here, we're here, because the F-35 will never be alone. But what the F-35 brings is not the traditional fighter characteristics that we always think about. It's the information fusion from multiple sources that comes together in the cockpit and allows that F-35 to be the quarterback of the penetrating team. And there's no other weapon system that we've designed that can do that role. And in that role, it's performing spectacularly. Our challenge was that when you look at the force structure that we have, there are 4 fourth-gen airplanes, F-16, F-15E, A-10, and F-15C, that we need to fly into 2030s. The F-15C is not going to make it. It is old and is not going to fly past the mid-20s, and we need that capacity to do all the missions I laid out for you in my opening statement. And so where we find ourselves in a position where we've got to buy 72 aircraft a year to be able to reverse the historical trends, and the F-15C is going to retire. We used the best cost estimate that we had at the time and looked at the various options. And the most affordable option, as long as we keep the F-35 absolutely on track with our program of record, was to look at an F-15 variant to replace the F-15C. And so that's why we are looking at that. It's one line of 4th gen to keep that mix right, but an F-15 will never be an F-35.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.